All right, what is up, YouTube? It is Coach Time Pimatico here, and today I want to bring you guys a video talking about why you're not losing weight. Why can't you get off those 10, 15, 20, or maybe even 50 pounds that you really want to get off of that body? The biggest thing that I would just want to go over with you guys is just the common mistakes and pitfalls of weight loss that I commonly see. I've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of people, and have helped many achieve amazing transformations. And I've seen what works, what doesn't work, what people perceive as the way to lose weight that I think is total BS. And I just want to go over all that stuff with you guys. So before we get into that, though, the first thing I want to do is just tell you a little bit about me. So the reason I have this picture up here is just to give some form of credibility, okay? This is one of my most recent transformations where I lost about 30 pounds, went from a pretty chubby state to a very lean state over a few months. I've done this on myself. I think somewhere around 7 or 8 times before, simply because I just have stages in life where I gain some weight, then lose some weight. Sometimes I do it on purpose. This one was on purpose. But regardless, I've not only done this on myself, but once again, hundreds, if not thousands of people I've helped with weight loss over the past decade being in the fitness industry. And so now let's get into some of the things that I have seen, okay, and what I think of some of the mistakes are. So the first mistake, sorry about that, that I see, okay, is people falling for these quick fixes. Okay, so let's just go over a couple of what these quick fixes are, but we're talking fad diets, detox teams, extreme unsustainable cuts that people see results of doing, but then always leads them to gaining it back, right? Everyone can lose the weight, but maintaining the weight loss is the hard part. Okay. And it's because they utilize these types of diets that don't allow them to actually have sustainability and maintain that weight loss. So, really good example of this is keto. Okay. Keto is extremely popular. Does keto work? Yes. But what is the main issue with keto? The main issue with keto is that you can only eat fats and proteins, and people like to eat carbohydrates. So they use keto to lose weight, but then they realize after a few months that they would like to have a slice of pizza on the weekend. Okay, then all of a sudden that slice of pizza turns into a bunch of French fries and then potato chips, ice cream, cookies, you name it, and they gain all the weight back. They never learned how to eat pizza while also losing weight in moderation so that they can still do it after they lose the weight. Okay. Other things I just want to kind of talk about, for example, are things like detox teas, which are complete BS. You'll see your favorite celebrities talking about, oh, how I use the detox tea to lose 10 pounds. And it's like, okay, but like you didn't lose body fat. Even if you did lose 10 pounds, you just flushed everything that was in your system that you ate. And that's not actual fat loss. That's just water weight, whatever random byproducts that were in your system that cause you to lose weight. That's not going to make a change in the mirror over time. That maybe for like a couple days you'll look good until you start eating again, right? So all these fad diets, they have potential to be good diets, but if and only if they're sustainable. Okay, so long-term results come from consistent habits, not gimmicks. Okay, so next thing we are going to chat about is this idea of calories in versus calories out. You have had to have heard this by now if you've had weight loss goals. You have probably heard people talking about it over and over again, how as long as you burn more calories than you're consuming, you're going to lose weight. Is this true? Yes, but it is very, very oversimplified. Okay, because if it was all that simple, it would be just as simple as I say it was, and everyone would lose weight and look great. Okay, but let's talk about some of the things that people don't take into consideration, which is where they're getting their calories from. Are you getting it from protein, carbohydrates, fats? What type of quality or foods are you getting it from? Okay, not that it necessarily matters. You can eat McDonald's every single day and still lose weight. However, that's going to affect a lot of things such as your hormones, how you feel, energy, things of that nature. And then also, are you consuming food that doesn't work well with you, that you don't metabolize well, right? And how that can affect how you utilize that food when it's digested and where it's stored, right? So there's so much more that goes into it than just calories in, calories out for a lot of reasons. Okay, so next thing we will chat about is going to be that you're eating more than you think. Okay, so when it comes to calories in, calories out, people eyeball things or they out to eat and just say, oh, it's a piece of chicken and some potatoes, and they mark it as this many calories, and it's probably significantly more. And one of the biggest reasons for this is this thing right here. Oils, 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 oils. People do not understand how many calories is in oils. Now, olive oil is extremely healthy for you, but just like anything in this world, too much of anything is not healthy for you. I mean, you can die from drinking too much water, right? How crazy is that? So, when we're thinking about oils, why this is such an issue is because when you go out to eat, they are throwing tons of oils on your food, and that is hundreds of calories that you're not accounting for. Okay, 1 tablespoon of olive oil is 14 grams of fat, which is just over 100 calories. A tablespoon of olive oil is literally nothing. If you watch how these people cook your food, they are using multiple tablespoons, and you can't account for that, right? So even if you went with a healthier route of chicken, potatoes, and some vegetables, you're not accounting for the oils that are in there. And if you're doing that multiple times a week, 5, 6 times, which plenty of people are, you're not able to really truly know how many calories you're consuming. Okay. And then people just seem to believe that, like, if it's just a handful of something, it doesn't actually count. And what I mean by that is, like, they'll go in the cabinet, they'll grab a handful of pretzels one moment, then they'll grab a handful of M&Ms, and then, I don't know, a cookie or two. And they just won't count that because, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a little bit. And those little things add up to this massive amount of calories that they don't understand actually limits their weight loss. And so, calories in, calories out absolutely works, but only if you're weighing and tracking for accuracy. If you're just kind of doing it, it only kind of works. Okay. So now the next thing we can chat about here is the weekend wipeout. All right. So everyone's perfect Monday to Friday afternoon, and then happy hour hits, and all of a sudden you forgot that your goal was to lose weight. All right. 5 days in a caloric deficit can easily be erased in 2 days of overeating. So let's just say you're in a 500 calorie deficit, right? Which would mean you're burning 3,500 calories in a week in a deficit, and that would have you losing 1 pound of fat a loss per week, which is amazing, amazing rate of weight loss. Okay, so let's just say Monday through Friday you're perfect. Okay, you're in a 2,500 calorie deficit, and then all of a sudden Saturday and Sunday you decide to go out to eat and binge eat. Okay, you have a few beers, you have a burger and fries, you had an appetizer, then you decide to get dessert. You've completely erased that. That is thousands of calories that you don't understand is actually in that food. I don't know if you've ever looked at the nutrition facts for a place like the Cheesecake Factory, which is a popular restaurant, which is why I'm using it as an example. The amount of calories that are in one of those meals is absolutely horrifying. And I say that because, like, even the healthy things are unhealthy there. And they have to let us know what their calories are for every single meal because they're a franchise. If it's not a franchise, you don't know what's going into these calories in these local restaurants, and they're probably just as high. And once again, the reason for that is because of all the hidden calories that you don't really account for, which is the oils, but also just the amount of volume that we eat in America is significantly higher than other countries as well. Like, our portion sizes are just ridiculous. And when you go out to restaurants, it's the same idea. I mean, even the salads there are unhealthy. They're well over 1,500 calories, which is crazy. So if you've ever looked at it, I would recommend you go and do. But regardless of the matter, you can't just be good Monday through Friday and then fall off the wagon Saturday, Sunday. That's never going to work. It's never a good idea. And so, should I say you should never have a cheat meal? No, that's not the idea. In fact, you certainly can almost have one every single week. You just need to be able to understand how to fit those into your macros or the amount of calories you're supposed to be eating every single day and week. But most people don't. And most people just go overboard because they were so perfect and they felt so restricted that they then binge eat. All right. Next thing that isn't really about food is just kind of ignoring recovery. So there's much more that goes into it than just the food you're eating and the training that you're doing alongside of it. We have to be thinking about sleep and stress and how that impacts your hormones and cravings and your performance. So if you're chronically undersleeping, you're going to chronically want to eat more food. It's just how it happens, okay? Because it increases ghrelin, okay, and then lowers leptin, which is satiety. So you're always hungry, and then when you eat, you don't get satiated. All right. And so stress and sleep are extremely important factors for when you're trying to lose weight. And so when you're trying to think about how can I efficiently lose as much weight as possible, those things need to be dialed in as well. And then a lot of people use stress, use food to cope with stress. I mean, I'm an emotional eater at times too, actually, to be completely honest. When I am angry at something, I'll just find myself eating something. I don't know why. It must be from when I was a child or something of that nature. But for whatever reason, I tend to eat when I'm more emotional. And I know a lot of people deal with that. And so if we can limit the amount of stress that we're putting ourselves, the less emotions that we have that are upsetting, probably the more likely we are to not consume more food. All right. So lastly, you're expecting way too much too soon. So people, for whatever reason, believe that they're going to have massive success in their weight loss journey in the first month. All of a sudden, they're going to look like a completely different human, and it's going to be as if the things that they did for the past decade don't matter, right? However long it took you to get to that place, it's going to take you very similar to get back. Now, it's not a one-to-one correlation because if you gain 25 pounds over 5 years, I'm not saying you can't lose 25 pounds in 5 months, but it's not going to be this 1 month fix. Okay. You have to be willing to put in the work. A really healthy fat loss rate is anywhere from 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. So, for a really good example, if you weigh 200 pounds, we want to lose somewhere between 1 and 2 pounds a week. Okay, and let's just say we want to lose 20 pounds. Well, then in somewhere around 10 to 12 weeks is how long it's going to take you to lose that body weight. And that's a realistic expectation. And not only is it realistic, it's very sustainable. And so what that means is by the time you're done doing so, you're actually going to be able to maintain that fat loss and that weight loss. It's not going to just rebound back up. Anyone can cut carbs and lose 10 pounds in a week. First off, it's just water weight and glycogen that you're losing. It's not body fat. Okay. The second thing is, once again, you're going to want to carb again. The moment you see carbs, you're going to eat them like crazy and you're going to gain it back all back. We went over this already, so I won't dive too far deep into it. But the biggest thing that I need for you guys to understand is that when you are starting a weight loss journey, it is not going to be this instant gratification. Okay. You have to set short little milestones that allow you to check that box and be proud of yourself. Okay, so let's just say you want to lose 20 pounds. Every 5 pounds, you give yourself a pat on the back. Okay, this way you stay more dialed in with the goal of losing the 20 pounds and don't look at it as this one big long diet. You look at it as these mini diets. Okay, and you have these little milestones that you keep checking off. And when I see people do that, okay, it is a lot easier for them to stay on path. When people perceive it as this big, long thing, they get maybe a third of the way and they're like, I'm never going to get there. And then they ultimately end up failing. Okay, so set some realistic expectations for your guys. Expectations for yourself, please, guys. All right, so next steps. If you're interested in working with me, you can email me at tommypomaticofitness@gmail.com. We can set up a consultation call and I can help you with your weight loss goals if that is something you guys are interested. If not, no worries at all. I'm happy you made it this far. I appreciate you watching this video. If you wouldn't mind, please subscribe, like, share the video with your friends, family, whoever it may be, and I hope it was helpful. Till next time, guys, Coach Tommy's out.